You have 3 voicemails.
I prepared a speech that was super emotional.
Yeah.
And then she was laughing her ass off.
Not earning exceptionally huge amount of money now compared to 2 years ago, but my mindset has changed that it's okay.
To not provide to your kids.
I have this provocative idea now. What do you think about woman proposing?
Hello there.
Welcome to the show where we have the convos about Vietnam, you know.
Hello there, and welcome to Convo Comrades, a conversation with the community about Vietnam. We're talking about a super thrilling topic today because the both of us are experts in this space. I would like to say that we're experts in the first topic and then maybe semi-experts in the second topic. What are we talking about today, Long?
We're gonna talk about engagement and marriage.
Whoa. How do you feel about this?
To be honest, I did feel a little bit scared before being engaged.
No, I was just going to say, how do you feel about talking about engagement and weddings? Okay, but I think that's a better answer to a better question. Go ahead. Why are you scared about being engaged?
No, but yeah. Let's. When you say how do you feel about engagement, that question alone makes me feel a little bit scared because I think it's a big milestone, right? It's a significant milestone that marks you as an adult, for at least for me. So in my mind, I'm always that kid. I'm young, I'm very young.
In my mind as well. Yes, you are.
Yeah. So reaching that significant milestone, I always have a question in my mind. Am I ready? Do I have the capability, what it takes to go further?
To take the next step.
Yeah, to take the next step.
Well, since we're on this topic, Long, why don't you spend a bit of time to share with everyone what your proposal was like to Lan?
Like the day.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's very simple, right? We're Vietnamese, but we also like the idea of that Western proposal style where people kneel down and things like that, right? We don't have that in Vietnam traditionally, but I think people are adopting that more and more. So, yes, we go with that approach. And of course, a little bit of surprise is always good. But I also like certainty. I also so the day itself happened very quickly, but it's a process of prepping up. Mainly, Lan was prepping me up.
Oh my God! So at the start of the podcast, I'm already laughing so much. Okay, how did Lan prep you up?
It's just hints, everyday hints. Like, okay.
All right, so just pointing to your knee, do your knee exercise.
Like, just questions about the future. Oh, yeah. Like, hey, Lang, when we get married, where will we
Okay, not even hints. When we're getting married, when am I getting the ring?
No, that's a prefix, and then the question follows that. When we get married, what will we do? Things like that. But it's subtle hints.
It's not subtle. It's like, when we getting married, have you thought about this, you little asshole?
I have to admit, I was nervous at first, right?
And how many months was this in advance?
It was a couple of years.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, you were bloody nervous when Lan started asking these questions.
Yes.
How long have you guys known each other?
I think 7 years now.
Okay, so she has every reason to do so.
So at the 5th year mark, all right, when we're getting married, what will we do? And then I started to
and you were just eating your sandwich at that point in time, just having a good time.
And then proper nervous breakdown.
Spitting out all your salad.
But I think it's a good transition, maybe Lan did foresee this. And so she kind of asked way before for me to slowly accept the idea, transition into, okay, yeah, that's normal. That's not a big deal at all.
This is a very good point, and it's an interesting point that I want to dwell into. To what extent do you think that the lady, or sometimes, look, let's be real, sometimes it's the man as well, right? To what extent should one partner start to indicate to the other partner that they want to get married? Or do you think that they should just let everything happen out naturally, and then, the course of life will determine that timeline? Because there are so many different ways to look at this, right? Because if you start hinting about these things, number one, you can come across as desperate, or you don't want to come across as desperate. That's why you don't want to say anything, right? But number two, also the other person doesn't want to feel pressured. But on the other hand, you can think about it as, if you don't say anything, then the other person's not going to know, right? And there's no prompt. There's no sort of motivation. There's no sort of nudge for you to start thinking about things.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance. What do you think?
I agree. Very delicate balance, because some people may not know at all that they're supposed to think about marriage now. In my mind, I'm always young. I'm always just graduated. I have so much more to learn. For me personally, to be ready to get married, in my mind, is when I can earn a lot of money, right? That's when I can think about getting married, because that's when I have the financial capability to take care of my kids.
So a few years ago, you hadn't invested in Bitcoin yet, but now yeah.
Exactly. To the moon.
Everyone, please remember to invest in Bitcoin responsibly. All right, continue.
We're not responsible for your losses.
Or gains, come on.
So yes, I'm not earning exceptionally huge amount of money now compared to 2 years ago, but my mindset has changed that it's okay
to not provide to your kids
as much as I have thought. In my mind, I thought, okay, I have to give them millions, but turns out, okay, just 10 pounds is okay. My love is more important, right? so that's a huge change in mindset. That okay, it's okay. But what's more important is biology, right? We're only young once. So to have kids earlier in life, it's better for our health to take care of them, otherwise leaving it too late. Anyway, back to the main question. What was your question again? A fine line between nudging and
just ignoring altogether.
I see this as a business.
Wait, what?
Wait.
This is not a good analogy. This is not a good analogy.
If you treat this as a business, right, a partnership, you have to consider the pros and cons of getting into a partnership, right? Treating marriage as a partnership. There will be benefits. For example, in the UK, you can share tax allowances. Things just make more financial sense to operate as a couple, as a married couple. So the longer you delay it, the longer you're missing out on these financial benefits. So it's very worthwhile discussing it with the people you're living with. Actually, the person you're living with.
It's a very complex JV you have there.
I mean, if we're gonna be together for the long term, let's discuss and let's make the best financial case out of it. But I also understand the point of, if you come across as that, it's also unromantic if you think purely about financial. And yes, you also sound very desperate.
I did not think that you would bring in a business lens to discuss marriage, but that's interesting. I think my question originally was a bit more emotional and a bit more romantic related. But I understand where you're coming from. It's also an angle that you need to consider as well, right?
Yes.
What I would say is, for those who are at the moment on the brink of, considering getting engaged or being proposed to, I guess sometimes you just need to think about the pros and cons of the default stage, which is, if you let things happen as they are, if you let things just occur as they are, is it good for you? Is it good for your relationship, right? If things are in a default state, who's more, well, in Vietnamese, it's the word thiệt thòi, right? What's the word in English? Disadvantaged? Losing out, yeah. Who's losing out, You need to think about yourself as well. So make sure that, you strike that delicate balance. I wouldn't think, of course, it depends on the stage in your life and your ambitions and so on and so forth. I wouldn't think that being inflexible and sticking to one type of principle and just sticking to it and not taking into account the circumstance and the context is necessarily a good thing. That's all I can say.
You have to ask the other person as well. You have to make clear, what do you want out of this relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I hate to bring a business analogy to this, but it makes sense. It's not a financial business like most business are, but being together in a relationship is an emotional business. You have to ask the other partner what they want out of it, and also communicate your wants and needs
Yep.
as well.
I think that's a very important point. Communicate.
Maybe they don't want to get married. Maybe they don't want to have kids. Maybe you do. So the earlier you communicate, the better, the clearer it gets. And maybe it's best you go your separate ways because your purpose does not match.
Yeah. It depends on your objectives and whether that objective coincides with the other person's objective. Now, you both might want to have kids at different age. But that's still not alignment, right? So yeah. Okay. Next question.
Okay.
How were you able to choose your engagement ring?
Yes, an engagement ring. So again, back to my certainty, but also surprise element, right?
That's such a contradictory, okay?
Because what I do is I hate returns. I don't like returns.
Why don't you like returns?
There's always a fear in my mind that the vendor might say, oh, you damaged this. You cannot return.
Okay.
So
you're a certainty man.
Yes.
Low risk man.
In certain things. There are things where I can accept big risk.
Bitcoin. All right, continue. Come on.
Yeah, so what I did was essentially ask Lan, what sort of design does she like?
You asked her or she told you? there's a difference.
I can't remember now.
She told you.
It must be a mixture. Maybe she told me first and then I forgot and then I was like...
You said you were a little kid. You would not think about these things.
Okay, maybe she did. And then I forgot and then I have to ask her again.
Mm-hmm.
Before I researched into engagement rings, I knew nothing about it. I thought it's just a ring with one diamond on it. I didn't know there was different cut, different ways of choosing it, the 4 C's, clarity, whatever, color. Yeah. So each person will have a different preference, right? And as soon as I research into it, I need to pick a few examples. And then I showed her, is this okay?
Oh my God. It's kind of like a business presentation, isn't it? Before you actually do the final presentation, there are a lot of iterations before then. And then you show the client draft number 1. The client's not happy. You go back to your room, you do draft number 2, you show the client again.
So that ensures certainty for me, you know. And then I also measured her ring size just to make sure no returns, no amendments. That's it. I think that worked out well for me.
Yeah.
At least she liked the ring because she saw what she was getting.
It wasn't very helpful as well for you because I think you told me that she changed her preference a number of times throughout the process.
Yeah. And I think it's influenced by also movies and media where people on movies were having different weird shapes of...
It's a nightmare.
like a water drop shape or pear shape or something like that.
Oh my God.
So it ignited a spark like, oh yeah, I want that too. But then after stepping away from that trendy thing, I think she settled with a classic look. Yeah.
You haven't told us the proposal yet.
Okay, so in very brief, proposal prep period lasted 2 years with several questions from Lan, and then I went into a major mindset change from oh shit to okay, it's not so bad. It's it's inevitable, you know. It has to happen at some point. So, and then we came towards the end of the proposal, which is the ring choosing period.
Wait, when was the inflection point? Because I remember Han and we were on the train with you, and Lan wasn't there. And then we talked about these things, and I think it was like a couple of months before your engagement. And by the way, Han is Mango, by the way. They're the same people.
Han Solo.
All right. I'm going to move on from that bad joke now. And then we talked about, the engagement preparation and, what you needed to do. And you didn't have a clue.
Yeah. I wasn't deep researching. I had a vague clue, but I was so lost in terms of step by step. What do I do?
You had a vague clue, but you were clueless.
I really want to know step by step. I like certainty.
I certainly know that now, Along.
So yeah. It was an inflection point. Was a little bit of that train ride, along with an increase in frequency of questions. You know what? Because you guys are getting engaged, and that environment reminds land that we're not
Creating the pressure. Obviously you hang out with people around your age, right? And then left, right, and center around Long, people are just getting engaged. Mango and I got engaged. It was like 2 years ago, and then there was another couple that got engaged recently, and then another couple got engaged in Paris. So tons of engagements around. That added a lot of pressure on Long.
That's right, and also land. And so the pressure is transferred by questions to me. And then that train ride also happened. And then I thought, God, all right, let's just sit down and do proper step-by-step research here.
All right, come on, wrap up the story. What happened next?
Anyway, yeah, researching the rings. When my client is happy with the ring design. Oh man, and ring shopping is also, I think, worth talking about, right? Mm-hmm. I ended up with an online vendor. Mm-hmm. So it lets you zoom into so many details, like 40 times zoom. So you can check out all the details, little details, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the client and I both know exactly what ring we're getting. Mm-hmm. So we're happy there. The surprise element of it is in the shipping period. When will it be shipped? So she doesn't know. And then, I bought it under my email. So she would have no idea of notifications of shipment, right? and it happened on, I remember it was Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. Or was it Christmas Eve? Mm-hmm. And you guys were there, you and Han, we were having a dinner together. I created an impression that I would have proposed somewhere grand. Mm-hmm. Nice, beach, mountain backdrop, something like that. But turns out I want to be surprised, so I proposed right in the dining table.
What was Lan doing at that point in time?
She was just cooking,
Exactly, she was cooking some noodles.
And I think it worked because she cried a little bit, surprise tears. So I think I succeeded there. Yeah, combine certainty with the surprise element. Yeah,
no, that's brilliant. It's interesting because I think that different people's engagements reflect their personality as well. So I think you're a very sort of, friendly, outgoing, and easily relatable person. And so you did it at your home, right?
Yeah.
And it was a surprise in that sense as well. I think my proposal was slightly different, and I shared my proposal extensively online on my YouTube channel. I had 2 vlogs about it. I documented the whole process. It was a 3-month process. In short, what did I do? So I had a friend, I'm sorry, Barney, you're still my friend. I have a friend in Hong Kong named Barney, and I did a lot of research, and I realized that in Hong Kong, you can actually buy a ring that is relatively cheaper than other areas in the world, simply because of its tax laws. So I asked Barney to buy a ring for me, and we sort of had calls back and forth over a month or 2, just trying to figure out who the best vendors are, what the best ring is, what it looks like, how we procure it, so on and so forth, and how it gets brought over to the UK. And I thought, what was the best way to propose to Mango? And, I think throughout the 7 years of our relationship at that point in time, 6 or 7 years, oh, she's going to kill me. I think at that point it was around 6 years. No, I think it was 5. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on. Edit this out. Edit this out. One of the things that really sort of reflected our couple relationship was YouTube and dancing. Right, we did a lot of dances and did a lot of choreographies on YouTube together. And so I think the best way to do it was to trick her to thinking that, we were going to do a similar project, to do a dance for a particular song that I really liked at that point in time. And then she thought that we were just doing a project as well. But it turns out that it was actually a proposal. My philosophy is always try to capture the moment as much as you can, whether it's photos or videos. Of course, try not to ruin the moment, but always try to capture it, because years and years down the line, these things are going to be absolutely priceless. And I think I can dwell on this a bit further in maybe a future episode on like content creation and vlogging YouTube. But I thought, how do I document this moment the best way and the most natural way as possible, right? And the best way to do it is just literally have a camera in front of her as though that we're filming something, that we're intentionally doing a project, so that she will not, what's the word?
Suspect.
Suspect. Yeah, she will not suspect anything at all. And that's why I opted for, doing a dance project. There was already a camera there, a very high quality camera as well. So thank you so much, Barney. The proposal, I think it reflects my personality as well. In terms of like, I'm very prepared, but also I do like surprises. And I like capturing moments, priceless reactions at a particular point in time. And you can see that in my vlogs, that's what I tend to do, right? I tend to make sure that all of my vlogs are very natural, so that I capture things that are just naturally happening. So that's what I try to do. And I think that sort of reflects my personality as well.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to have both Han and Lan to be on the podcast to share how they feel right at that moment, right?
I know how Mango felt.
How does she feel?
Oh my God, I'm so pissed off when I talk about this. I thought she'd be crying because I prepared a speech, right? I prepared a speech that was super emotional.
Yeah.
And then she was laughing her ass off. When I got down on one knee and when I was talking to her, she was just laughing. I'm like, what are you on about? Why are you laughing? Like, I'm saying things that are very emotional, that are coming from the heart, and that, things that I don't normally say in real life, right? In day-to-day life. It's supposed to be a very emotional moment for me and for her. And she was just laughing. But what pisses me off is if some Korean guy gets hit by a car, she be crying. It's so annoying.
Like an actor. Yeah. Like a Korean actor.
You can imagine, yeah? You can imagine at home in my living room, I'll be like wearing earphones on my iMac, watching football, watching YouTube, or doing video editing or whatever. And then I will look to the left and she'll be on the sofa watching TV and she'll be crying because some Korean guy got hit by a car in a movie. Oh my God. Or like some girl is like forsaking her boyfriend or something in a Korean drama again. That pisses me off. But when her boyfriend becomes her husband, kneels down one knee, presents her this ring that he bought from Hong Kong for her, like saying something super emotional and from the heart, she laughs like, what the hell?
That shows the dark side of media, of movies.
I also like, why did you cry? She was just like, you look really funny at that point in time. I've never seen you so serious. I'm like, what? Why would you cry for a movie plot? And then she said, well, I tend to be emotional about other people's stories.
No, that's good. That happened before me, right? And so I used that as a guidance. I used that as a reference. So I saw Han was not crying at all. I thought, okay, yeah. That was easy. My turn now. So my speech was short, one sentence.
I know what your sentence is. Are you happy to share the sentence?
Yeah. So I said, Lan, are you happy to take the next step with me?
Down the staircase.
And then she said, what next step? and then I was like, I'm not prepared. So I repeat the same sentence. Are you willing to take the next step with me?
I know. I was laughing because I was taking the video for you. So once again, I think it reflects the personality as well, right? You're a very chilled guy, and I'm very like, I prepare. I make sure that things are right the way that I want it to be. But obviously, the outcome never happens the way that we want it to be.
Yeah, and if I foresee the day for me was a chilled day. She would say yes, and then we would continue eating our meals happily. Mm-hmm. And at the moment she cried, I didn't know what to do, because when I saw you guys, Han did not cry.
I know.
And when I saw Lan cried, oh shit, What do I do now? What do I? I only have one sentence prepared. I don't know what else to say.
I can't believe it. Yeah. No, but then Lan said after that, you actually had a speech, but you were embarrassed to say it on the spot. Is that true?
Yeah, I thought about having a speech, but then you guys were there as well, right? And then I thought, okay, maybe a simple one sentence. Because you had Barney there, but Barney doesn't understand Vietnamese, so you were more comfortable sharing.
That is true.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, like in the video that Barney recorded, I think he's got the audio in that as well, and I have the raw file.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm not going to publicize that. So yeah, no, it's good that sometimes you keep things private. So how did you deliver the speech? Lan said that it was when you guys were going to sleep.
Yeah.
And then when you were looking up at the ceiling.
That's it. When you guys left and we finished everything, she had her ring, happy, and we were about to sleep. And then I said, so back to what I really meant to say was la 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 la. Are you happy? Okay, then, good night.
Question: were the lights on, or was it just complete darkness?
Complete darkness. We were about to sleep.
So you didn't even look at her. You didn't know her reaction. You were less embarrassed. You were just staring into blank space. You were like an astronaut.
I looked at her. We look at each other. It's just dark. We couldn't see each other clearly.
I mean, what's stopping her from just going to sleep at that point in time? Like, how would you know?
No, I can sense. I can see her. I can hear her voice.
Snoring.
No, anyway, I see. I can just feel it. You feel it. You're being so close to the other person.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Now, I want to move on to a very interesting topic here. And before this podcast, you said, engagements, weddings, there's probably not much to talk about.
Yeah.
And I told you there are tons of things to talk about. So the first thing that I want to talk about is diamonds. The reason why there is a growing narrative, I'm not saying it's a big narrative, but there is a growing narrative at the moment on, is there a need to buy diamond rings at all? And one of the things is blood diamonds, and we can expand on that later. But then another thing is also child labor. And then another point is also sustainability and impact on the environment.
I didn't do research on diamonds specifically for this podcast, but I did research on diamonds for when I was purchasing
okay
the engagement ring.
Okay.
And it turns out to be a marketing scheme. Well, it's all a marketing scheme by what's that company?
De Beers.
Yes, De Beers. And it was just a scheme that to push demand. A man has to buy diamonds 3 times their monthly salary as engagement ring.
Do you know the history behind that? Before the whole marketing scheme?
No.
Okay, this is when I jump in then.
Jump in.
So I don't know how many years ago, I'm not going to put a number to it, but years ago, all right, that's safe enough. You can think of it as hundreds or thousands. Diamonds were mainly sort of sourced from, I think, India and then one or two other locations. But then there was a point in time in history where De Beers found this massive source of diamond in South Africa, right? And obviously supply and demand in economics, that brought the prices of diamonds down.
Yeah.
At the start, the prices of diamonds were high, but then as they mined the diamonds, they realized that there's so much diamond in the grounds of South Africa. And they realized, holy crap, if we release all of these diamonds, then the prices are going to go down. So how do they do that? Well, they thought, the best way to do it is probably to target a new set of customers outside of, South Africa. And then they looked over to the US. And that's when, they saw this huge market that they can potentially tap into, right? And that's where your marketing thing came in. So that's when they pushed for a lot of marketing in the US so that they can tap into that source. And then because they were the monopoly at that point in time, they could control the supply and the demand as well. And so that's why the prices of diamonds have traditionally been relatively high. They have been thought of as a rare rock, really.
Yeah.
Now, people are saying a lot of the research papers are saying, well, De Beers, are they really truly a monopoly? Some are saying that, they have so many different companies, they're all under the same enterprise, but they're just faking other company names to make sure that the market really is less monopolized. But others are saying, well, in this day and age, there are many more other non-De Beers companies now, and the market is more competitive. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you were to be like a diamond company, will you lower the price? No, you're not. You're probably going to match the price of De Beers and make a lot of money, right?
Yes, I mean, depends on your strategy. I mean, there's some companies like online vendors, they try to undercut a little bit.
Only a little bit. You're not going to undercut a lot, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, the whole thing was a result of marketing scheme. I read that they tried another marketing scheme where women are supposed to give men some diamond rings on a certain day, like Valentine's Day or something. So
is it?
In Japan, to promote the image of a successful woman, like women can also earn money. Why don't women give men some diamonds? But that failed.
I don't think they picked the right market to try that out.
Yeah, they failed, and then that never happened eventually. But the men buy ring for engagement, that was a bomb, right? And then it remains so.
So you
now.
knew about this long? I actually didn't know about this when I bought the diamond.
Yeah, I knew about this.
So why do you still buy it?
Because it's so ingrained in our expectations now. And it affects even my expectation. Like I see diamond as a precious rock, and it's so flashy. And it would be nice for Lan to have it. Like an iPad. Okay, yeah, iPad are nice. Okay, it would be nice for my kid to have one iPad. So it's built into our expectation now. I think choosing a right vendor is what we can do to make a difference, having the correct supply chain and ethical supply chain, things like that, to avoid blood diamonds.
I actually also didn't know about the whole blood diamond situation before I bought my diamond. Okay, let's talk about blood diamonds then. What's blood diamonds?
I did not research a lot about this, but it's a product of slavery. And also, I know that it's in Africa and something related to war and slavery. So workers mining the diamonds are forced to do so, against their will, and for little pay or even no pay. And the product of that is sold for, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's the concept that I come to know of as blood diamonds.
Yeah. And I think the profits from those fund the wars in Africa. And I think there's this very famous movie by Leonardo DiCaprio that reflects this. And it was a couple of years ago. And at that point in time, it really drove this increasing narrative about, should we actually buy diamonds in the first place when we don't really know the original source and the ethical practices behind the supply chain.
Yeah, so you are indirectly funding something bad, right, by purchasing a diamond.
So let's just go through all the definitions and the understanding of the different topics first before we go into the debate. So child labor, from what I understand, is a lot of areas, for example, in India, in Africa as well, they use a lot of children to mine the diamonds and also to cut the diamonds as well. And the reason why is because children tend to be the desperate targets. Children want to work to support their families. Children are small enough to go down all the small little tunnels in the ground to collect the diamonds. And of course, it's not safe at all. And then children's hands are small and delicate enough to cut the diamonds precisely.
Horrible.
And then lastly is about environmental degradation. I believe that mining diamonds is very environmentally harmful for the surroundings and nature as a whole.
Did not know about the environmental impact. But yeah. There's also a rise of lab diamonds, lab-grown diamonds now. So I don't know how it's done. I think they took a slice of the real diamond and they just grow it inside a lab. So technically it's a real diamond, but the process is much faster because it's done so inside a lab as opposed to under the ground or something for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But the product is the same. The cost is cheaper because it's not popular yet. The concept of lab diamonds, I think, is not popular. Therefore, the price is lower. But the quality is the same.
I think you can only find out whether a diamond is lab grown or it's mined naturally by doing it in a lab. So like 99% of the population will not know if it's a real diamond or not.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, not real diamond, but a natural diamond or not.
Yeah, natural or lab grown. Because lab grown is also considered real diamonds. Yeah. And
so you knew around 3 out of the 4 issues that we raised. Number 1 is the marketing behind it. Number 2 is the blood diamond issue. Number 3 is the child labor situation. But you didn't know about the environmental impact.
Yes.
You still bought the diamond. Why?
This is ingrained into my expectation now, and into most of us, into Lance's expectation that to mark this significant milestone in our life, engagement, we need something to mark that. And in our heads, a diamond ring is the best object to mark that. And it's also to showcase to friends and families, right? Okay, I've achieved this milestone. This is it. You see, it's so pretty. It could be, it could be any other asset. It could be Bitcoin, but you can't really. I mean, if I use that money to put in Bitcoin, then
Long's voice just cracked.
I would have tripled the money now. I would have 3 diamond rings.
Yeah, exactly. What is your response to someone who says, look, why don't you just spend a fraction of that amount of money on a very different type of rock, which is very rare, which is also valuable, but less expensive because there's no marketing behind it, and then the rest of the money invest it elsewhere?
Yeah, I'd say that's completely fine, but depends on how the person receiving the ring perceives it and values the opinions of the public. Right? Maybe they're scared that, okay, if I get a black rock for my engagement ring, people would think I'm weird. I don't want that. I want to be considered quote unquote normal. I want to fit in.
We're creatures of societies, aren't we?
Yes. And so if you go against the norm, there's a feeling of, what if they think I'm weird? I don't mind so much that, if my friends have that, I respect them more. Like, whoa, you're going against the norm. Kudos to you. But diamond, in my mind and also in Lance's mind, I think it's being built up as the number 1 rock now. So we perceive it as a very valuable rock. That's why we want it.
That's interesting. So I didn't know about any of these things before.
Yeah.
Because like I mentioned, I prepared everything in 3 months, and it was a very intense 3 months. I wanted it to be a surprise as well. So we were moving very fast. So I didn't naturally, when you wanted to buy a diamond, you wouldn't write in why I shouldn't buy a diamond, right?
Yeah.
So because of this podcast, that's why I want to be very upfront with everyone. All right, we're not perfect. We're still learning things as we go along in this podcast. I want to be very upfront with you on, whether things are changing and mindsets are changing or not. Now, yesterday, when I started reading up on all these things, I realized, holy shit, I didn't know about this whole story behind diamonds at all. And I started asking myself, I went into this dilemma of thinking, had I known, would I have bought the diamond ring for Han in the first place, or for Mango? And to be honest, it got a bit uncomfortable for me, right? It got a bit uncomfortable because I didn't know whether I would backtrack from the decision, or I will still go ahead. And then I wanted to think hard about it before this podcast, so I have an answer, but then I was sleepy. So I went to sleep. So today, to answer the question, I think the answer is probably no. And there are 2 reasons behind this. The first reason is because financially, we're not that much impacted by the decision. Now, I think if you, in your particular circumstance, is impacted heavily and to a high degree financially because of the diamond and because of the ring that you bought for your fiance, then maybe it's different for you. But for us, because we're so lucky to be in our position, we're not that impacted financially. So that's number 1. I think number 2, Mango is very happy. Like, Mango is out of this world happy about her ring. She talks about it all the time. She looks at it all the time, right? And if it brings her that happiness and that joy, and if it lasts for years and years, then I don't think there's any reason for me to backtrack away from it. So I think it's all circumstantial. It depends on who you are. and what your beliefs are and what you want to prioritize. Now, if you come to me or come to Long and say, well, what about all the blood diamond issues, child labor, so on and so forth? We're living in a very complicated world, and we have different values and different priorities. Now, it's not to say that I don't value, saving children from child labor. It's not to say that. But I think the same argument can be applied to if you eat meat. I watched this documentary on Netflix called Cowspiracy recently, and I realized that meat is actually a much, much more exponentially larger source of environmental impact than traffic. Yet we're talking about all these things around the world about, electric vehicles, electrification of traffic, so on and so forth to save the environment, when the biggest problem here is the meat industry. It's causing so much impact on the world. So if you're eating meat and you're telling me about blood diamonds, we're all hypocrites then, aren't we? All right. And whatever little thing that we do, like when we're using plastic as well, that has an impact on the environment. Then what can we do in today's world? Right. So I think that argument is very difficult to hold. What do you think?
I agree. It's a complex world out there. I also watched a documentary on Netflix called Sea Piracy. Not cow piracy, sea piracy. It talks about fishing. If you eat fish, it's also damaging to environment, because each time they fish, they damage the sea floor, the sea forest down there. Sea area is much more than forest area in absorbing CO2, right? So we're damaging the sea, damaging our planet as we fish and overfish. So according to our documentaries, we should not eat meat, we should not eat fish, we should not buy anything, we should not use plastic. So it's a very hard world to live.
Yeah.
We take into account those consequences, but we can try our best to choose the correct supplier, the responsible ones. Also, we consume responsibly. We don't overconsume and buy things that we don't need. Mm-hmm. I think that plays a role.
Mm-hmm. Or making a move towards more science-based approaches. For example, your lab-grown diamonds. I think that's also maybe possibly an alternative.
Yes, but maybe lab-grown diamonds, if adopted in bulk, they may produce more CO2. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Maybe because it's lab intensive, right? Maybe there's a
lot of computing and
something like that. Lab diamond conspiracy, Netflix coming out. So anything overconsume is bad. So I think the lesson here is everything in moderation. You just consume the things that you really need. But back to the diamond. I think partly it's because of the marketing and because of social media and movies that has affected our brains that diamond is the best. Diamond is the best. Diamond equals to engagement. Yeah. You have to get diamonds. Yeah. But for younger generation, I think it's better if we show them that, okay, diamond is not the only option. You can choose whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another point to tackle about the supply issue is, if you're saying that all these companies are withholding the supply into the market and therefore controlling the price, and that's why it's not worth buying it, isn't that quite similar to your luxury bags, as how, we talked about in the previous episode with our golden guest, Chang? All these luxury bags companies, they can make more bags. They just don't want to. So all of these diamond companies, they can just release more diamonds into the market, but they don't want to. Now, if you can say that, well, you can buy cheaper diamonds elsewhere, feel free to do so. But if there is really this control on the supply in the market by these diamond companies, then the price is what it is, right? It doesn't matter if there is way more diamond supplies all over the world. Are you going to fly to South Africa to mine the diamonds yourself? No, you're not. So the only way for a typical retailer to get hold of a piece of diamond or piece of diamond jewelry is through one of these supply chains. So the price is reflective of that. Wouldn't you say so?
I agree.
And why do you think there's this growing expectation in Vietnam now that they want to be proposed to? This hasn't been the case over the past few decades, really. So this was a new concept to my parents, and I'm sure it was probably a new concept to your parents as well. Was it?
Yes, it's a definitely new concept. We can talk about wedding ceremonies later in Vietnam. But this is largely a Western concept influenced by movies, by the romantic ideas of kneeling down, presenting the ring, saying, "Will you marry me?" Such a nice scene.
You didn't say that.
Because I wanna go against the norm. Will you take the next step with me?
To where?
Will you take the next step with me? I'm unprepared to answer the follow-up question.
Okay, so you think it's because of social media, because of movies and entertainment?
Definitely. And also marketing campaign of De Beers. Everything goes hands in hands. Maybe it's De Beers who sponsored these movies. Hey guys, why don't you do this? We'll give you free diamonds.
Well, that's not too bad.
And then they manipulate the whole market perception of diamonds. Yeah.
And I think it's also because Vietnamese students are increasingly studying overseas and working overseas as well, isn't it? There's a greater exposure to international culture.
Yeah.
And just foreign concepts. And I think, part of that is reflected in their lives overseas, but also they kind of like import that culture back to Vietnam and they spread it as well.
I have this provocative idea now. What do you think about woman proposing? Now that's new, right? But wouldn't you think the burden of proposing falls only on men? Is that fair? Or is that fair to make women wait for the men to propose? If she wants it, she can directly take a step, That's definitely against the norm. But will that be the future as we move towards gender equality? What do you think?
I'm not against it. I think I've seen it a couple of times on social media where a woman proposes to a man. So it's becoming more of a thing. I'm not saying it's widespread, but it is happening now. I think it's definitely not going to happen in Asia anytime soon. Because in Asia, especially in Vietnam, the concept is a woman needs to keep her value, right? Retain her value. She cannot come across as being too desperate.
Yeah.
Even though, on social media these days, it's very clear that some people are super desperate. But it's fine. It's I understand that. You're at a point in your life where you need to have someone, right? Or you need to get married. That's completely fine. But it's just that society expectations are that women cannot appear desperate or else she risks losing her value. I think, and this is really off the cuff here, okay? I've not put a lot of thought into this, so it might offend some people. I don't know. But maybe this is increasingly common as well, given the rise in LGBT. Let's say a woman and a woman relationship, right? It happens more often. You see that image of a woman kneeling down more.
Yeah.
So increasingly it affects other types of relationships as well. I think.
I'm an opponent. Not opponent. I'm a proponent.
I was like, uh-oh. Are we going to go into something controversial here?
I'm a proponent. Proponent means agree, right?
Yes.
I just want to clarify.
Yes. I'm a proponent of that word.
I'm a proponent of gender equality, right? For as long as we have things that only men can do and only women can do, except being pregnant, there will always be gender inequality. We have to embrace tradition that only men can do previously. So women can do it. That's when we have true gender equality. A woman may not like to do it, but they have an option to propose. And they will not be laughed at or be seen as desperate if they propose. If we move to that stage, I think that's a big win for gender equality. But it seems like it's a long way for Asia.
It's definitely a long way, and we're not saying that we're perfect as well. I mean, at least I'm not saying that I'm perfect. If I see a woman kneeling down, there will be some sort of reaction, right? Immediate reaction, but then afterwards, I will spend some time to rationalize it, and then it'll be completely fine. But naturally, because I am a product of the society as well, immediately when I see that image, I'll be like, wait, what? Why is she kneeling down? Oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right? There will be some sort of like surprise reaction. It just happens naturally.
Yeah. If I see that, my first thought would be, whoa, what a strong woman, independent woman. Kudos to you. And I look at the man, was like, weak.
Yeah, exactly. That's your reaction, right? You have more.
Yeah.
You have more of a reaction towards the man.
Yeah. But we have to fix that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm flawed. I admit that. But as we move towards modern society, let's speak out how we feel currently.
Yeah.
Fix that. You know, we're not perfect.
It's the same thing about diamonds, and you were saying about different rocks as well. Like if someone gives someone a different rock, you know, naturally I would just think, wait, what?
Yeah.
What's that? What is that? Right? But then slowly you rationalize it and you read into it, and then you realize, oh, okay, that's a pretty interesting choice from their end.
Yeah.
There you go.
Complicated, but we're here to say there are many different ways to propose and different consumer choices that you can make. Does not have to be men proposing. Does not have to be diamonds. Can be anything.
Here's a question.
What is it?
Do you even need to propose? Because I'm sure 90% of the Vietnamese population do not propose.
Let me talk about my understanding of Vietnamese and how Vietnamese work, right?
You're talking about Vietnamese like there's some different species.
No, because I haven't been in Vietnam for so long. I mean, I've been to Vietnam once a year, but not deep with the traditions. So my understanding is people in a dating relationship, suddenly a question got asked, hey, should we get married? It's like, yeah, we should get married. Let's do that. And then they met parents, and then they go buy the ring together. And then that's it. They get married.
Oh, so they do buy an engagement ring?
Yes, but they buy it together.
Really? I thought they
Yeah.
don't even have an engagement ring at all. Like most of the population, they do.
They do have an engagement, but it doesn't have to be diamond, I think. It could be another gold ring, something like that. I'm not too deep in this.
Oh. No.
But yeah.
Well, my understanding is they don't buy the engagement ring. They probably got the ring from their mother that's passed down from generation to generation. But then they do buy the wedding rings together. But I think the ones who actually do proposals and stuff like that, they tend to be either, you know, celebrities or influencers, or just people who've studied abroad or are much closer to culture in the West.
Yes, I agree. Now, passed down generations engagement ring do exist. But if they don't have one, then I think they also buy. So they have two types of rings, wedding rings, engagement ring.
One more question before we close off the episode, and probably the next episode we're going to talk about weddings then. The last question is, to what extent do we need to prepare so much for a proposal? And the reason why I asked this question, Long, is because I watched this documentary on YouTube, and there's this engagement proposal service in Singapore or Malaysia. I can't remember. But what they do is they sit down with the groom and they will plan out a proposal for the groom. This is not a wedding planning service. It's an engagement proposal service for the groom. So that the bride will not know. Sometimes the bride knows, but most of the time the bride will not know. So if you want, I don't know, balloons, you want like an arch in the beach somewhere, they will prepare it for you. If you want cameramen, if they want camera people, they will prepare it for you. If you want drones flying down to give you the ring, they will prepare it for you. If you want to parachute your way down to the bride, they will do it for you as well. Of course, it's expensive. It's very expensive. What do you think about this?
I definitely think this is a niche market area for the super rich.
That's why it's in Singapore or Malaysia. I can't remember.
I don't know what to think. In my head, proposals are simple, intimate, and should relate to the experiences that both the peoples in the relationship can relate to.
Question.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you right there because you fell into my trap.
All right.
Why shouldn't a wedding be like that? And why are weddings in Vietnam the opposite? They are not small, they're not simple, they're not intimate. But the wedding is supposed to signify the coming together of two people, just as much or even more than a proposal. So why do you think that for the proposal, but not the case for weddings?
In my opinion, the wedding involves so much more. There are people at stake. There are more people at stake. I know. Now, for the record, I do agree that a wedding should be only focusing on the two people marrying. All right. But in reality, and definitely in Vietnam, this is a family event, family business. This is a chance for our parents to announce to the world, guys, our kids are getting married. Come, we negotiate more business in this wedding party.
Oh my God. Right, we can talk about this a bit more in the second episode.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that service then in Singapore or Malaysia?
I definitely think it's worth it for people who have the money, have the financial resources. They can tailor it to their own, relatable experiences. If they like traveling, they can tell the company, all right, we're gonna travel to Bali. I'll pay you 5,000 to travel with me and prepare all these things. But there's also that argument between, whether you make it yourself or you hire someone else to do it. If you make it yourself, it show more love, care, affection, but it may not be perfect. But on the other hand, if you have the money, resources, and you want to have a perfect product, then you buy that service. And my answer is, you just do whatever feels right. If you value perfection and you cannot do it perfectly, definitely get some help, buy a service. But if you know that your other half doesn't value perfection but values emotion, effort, then she will value more the fact that you try hard, even though it may not happen perfectly.
I agree with that. And it goes back to my point earlier on, I think everyone's proposal reflects their personality and their preferences, really. Sometimes you just want something that's intimate with just your friends. I think that's similar to you and me. But some people, they want their friends, but also in their particular circumstance, they just don't have the capabilities, the skills to think about these things, but they still want a video to keep. They want nice photos to keep and to look back. But at the end of the day, it depends on how genuine you are in your relationship and, whether you're doing it for the right thing or not, or whether you're just doing it for showcasing. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we wrap up then?
All right. Let me do the wrap up.
Okay.
Thank you guys for tuning in into this week's episode where we talk about engagement. And in our next episode, we'll talk about marriage. Stay tuned for that. Share us your thoughts. Comment down below your experiences with the proposal or what you think about proposal. Let us know. This is a community. Speaking of community, join our community at Convo Comrades on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And for now, bye-bye.